Today's reading for the 11th of October 2025. I'm kind of on the verge of, how would I say, kind of on the verge of a breakthrough today. So just the ones of you who pray, just know that for me. I'm giving this Sunday talk tomorrow at a spiritual center, and I prepared it, and I just need a little bit more energy to go into it. So if you could hold that for me, that will be wonderful. So instead of me praying for you today, I'm asking you to pray for me. So there you go. Today's reading is entitled Working Through Us, and the first is from Paul. It's had the Brunet or Brunet, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, B-R-U-N-E-T, who says, "The infinite bears no burdens, carries no crosses, and neither do I. In all the omniscient mind of God, there is no pain or strife about anyone or anything." So in other words, we invent it. And this is Ernest Holmes from The Bible in the Light of Religious Science. It's actually a good publication. It's worth reading. We use it quite a bit in our teachings, especially related to the Bible. It's not the only one, but it is one of the ones we use. And that was published in 1929. And this quote is from pages 74 and 75. And this is what Ernest Holmes says. "The only way to know God is to be like God. And while this may seem discouraging in our present stage of evolution, we should remember that we have but started on an eternal ladder that ever spirals upward." I'll come back to that. When Jesus said, "Come unto him and find rest," did he mean that we should or could come unto his personality? Of course not. Jesus knew his human personality would soon be dissolved into his divine individuality. He goes on to say, "It is evident then that he was referring to his understanding of life when he told all who were weary to come unto him and find rest." Jesus, that is. Had he not already explained that God indwells every soul? He was inviting people to penetrate more deeply into their own natures, and if they would find peace and comfort. This has ever been the lesson taught by the illumined, and this has been the reason for their illumination. And then he says, here is the lesson. We can find God only within ourselves, and God can work for us only by working through us. So it's a pretty strong tenet of Ernest Holmes' belief that God can only do through us, for us, what God can do through us. St. Francis of Assisi said something similar when he spoke about we're God's hands, we're God's feet, which is, of course, a similar concept. And when he's talking about Jesus, talking here about Jesus saying God indwells us, Jesus often said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. So this is what they're referring to here. And this is Reverend Jesse who says, how are we like God? The key seems to be to learn to perceive the world in an holistic way, as an infinite system must regard itself from an infinite perspective, beyond limitations of durations, distance, and idiosyncrasies. It works to put principles ahead of personalities, since principles endure while even the most sterling personalities are in constant flux. Jesus did not ask that we depend on him personally. Instead, he modeled for us what it's like to know one's spiritual source intimately and completely, a practice we are free to follow today. So what do I get out of this? Well, the whole thing is titled Working Through Us. So in religious science, we believe that the divine, God, the ground of all being, is everywhere and it's infinite. And because it is infinite, everything exists within it. And if everything exists within it, then we are expressions of it. But if it's above and beyond everything, then its only way of working is through its creations. And we're one of those creations. And since we have the ability to perceive that, then God works through us to the extent that we recognize that and use it. So that's what he's saying here. And also Ernest Holmes talks about, he says, we should remember that we have but started on an eternal ladder that ever spirals upward. Ernest Holmes believed that human beings, maybe life, I don't know, but human beings at least are on this eternal journey. And he thought this eternal journey worked like a spiral. And the spiral, as you know, goes up, but it also comes down again. But it never goes back down to a point lower than where it was. So it goes up, and then it comes down a bit, and then it goes up again, and it comes down a bit. In other words, it's a learning curve. So the downward part is the learning curve, and the upward momentum is when we're making use of what we learned. And then we learn again, and we go up again. So that's what Ernest Holmes was talking about with spirals. So my colleague Reverend Lisa will be on Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page tomorrow at 9:15. At 11 o'clock will be our service. I have the honor of actually giving the talk tomorrow at our Sunday service. If you could support me in that, either in person or online, that would be wonderful. And then I'll be back again at 5 o'clock-ish tomorrow evening. So I hope you get something out of these, and I hope that you will hold me in your prayers and thoughts, that this talk comes out exactly as Spirit intends it to. So whatever I've written, whatever I've prepared now, if Spirit sends me in a different direction, as it's already done from a week ago, then that will be it. And that will be the perfect talk for everyone, including myself. So please know that for me. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, namaste.